We're back, a whole new season of Way Too Spooky. I'm here with Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Connor.
Yeah, I'm here with Sean. How you doing, Sean?
Hey Connor, I'm doing great. Super pumped for spooky season to start.
Yeah, I think September 1st is the unofficial start of spooky season, right? I think that's an unsaid thing. So we're gonna drop our first episode of the year. It's still kind of hot out. The movie we're gonna do today was pretty. I haven't seen a movie made like this in a long time. It's kind of a throwback to some of the '80s slashers,
and it feels like a summer movie.
It does.
Summer horror movie. Which
it does.
I like those kind of movies.
Yeah, and we were just at Lake Shangri-La, and rumor has it there's a statue of Johnny at the bottom of there. And, of course, we're talking about In a Violent Nature. So, good. I mean, we'll get to the rating scale later in this episode.
We'll have you repeat that because you seem to just know it so well.
It evolves. Let's just say that. So, we'll get to the rating scale at the end.
I feel like you should refresh your own memory. And maybe the creeps and creatures right now.
Yeah, so, what we do, we rate movies here. If the movie's excellent, like really scary, or it was just really well done, you give it a Way Too Spooky, which is kind of rare.
Okay, that's 1 out of 4.
Yeah, and then, in a decent horror movie, but not spectacular, but it was still kind of scary, is spooky?
Yeah, you got it.
I'm getting there,
Keep
right?
Going.
Yeah, and then there's a bizarre rating scale right below that called Not Too Spooky.
Wow. That's 3 out of 4. You could see.
Yeah,
You guys
and then
if
it absolutely sucks, you give it a spookless, which is most horror movies, 100%. If you think about it.
Yeah, well, spookless, but enjoyable always. I like these movies, and as I've explained in every other episode.
B movie, schlock, B movie, horror movies are awesome.
But this one, without getting into the rating yet, it wasn't spookless. I'll say what I really liked about this movie right from the get-go, it had the summer vibes, and it reminded me of like Camp Crystal Lake, right? Yeah. Because there's a bad guy named Johnny. He's very Jason-esque. But what I liked about this movie is it gets right into it. There's no he's kind of a mysterious character. You don't really see him right away. The first 15 minutes is like POV, point of view from his standpoint.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who hated that. I actually thought it was kind of interesting watching him walk through the forest.
What I like about this movie and the way they even kind of started off, like you said, it cuts out on the minutia. It puts absolutely no value or time into getting to know the good guys in the movie.
Yeah.
Because they don't matter in this movie. This is strictly just a launching pad for, I think, sequels.
Yeah.
You need to know who he is. And anyways, that's where I stand with that movie.
Yeah.
I like how they do that.
Yeah, I like his, he has a, like Jason obviously had a story. I like the story behind him. So apparently he was a kid, it was in a logging community is what it was. Like they were just wood loggers.
Okay.
And I guess it was like the foreman's son who was like picked on. Really bothered.
Of course, it was a picked on kid.
It's picked on kid, but then he ends up falling off down into a shaft or something like that. So he's like dead, but not dead. He becomes resurrected. It's one of those legend stories that they tell around a campfire. It kind of checks some really good boxes. There's moments in the movie you kind of see him in the background, kind of looking through the trees.
Yeah.
But the people themselves don't quite see him yet, which is kind of like Michael Myers. A little bit.
Yeah. It's like any of the characters
that
you've never seen before. And I like that. And I mean, Sean, I don't want to hog the airwaves, but
so I think that I had the advantage of coming into this thing blind. I actually did not hear anything about this movie.
Yep.
And you guys reached out and were like, yo, you got to check this out after you watched it. So going in blind and watching it the way we did, like in the Poconos, like in a cabin house, like a fall chill vibe.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. Like, I really did like the opener.
Yeah.
Because it was something unique, right? Like, it was something that you really didn't see much of.
Right.
Or ever. Like, it almost felt like a video game, like, to begin with. It felt like a third-person video game where you're following, like, a Jason-like character through the woods.
And it almost felt like you were watching a trailer of a video game. Because, like, showing gameplay, because the quick cuts where he's walking through the forest, and then he's still walking. It looks like it's maybe an hour later.
Yeah.
The sun's changed. The coloring's different, but he's still walking to wherever it is he's going.
Yeah,
he's
such a slow burn.
Yeah.
Like, it's very slow burn.
And it's real wilderness. It's like real out there.
Right.
And You haven't seen a movie done like that in a long time.
Well, and what I really like to add the slow burn is like it's almost like the kills were even a slow burn.
Oh my god, yeah.
You know, there's the first 2 kills of the movie are in many respects.
They didn't really show what he did.
Don't really show you what he did,
Which I love, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I respect that. You know, and that's almost like that reminds me of more like a '70s movie where the viewers weren't subjected to that information.
Yeah.
It was almost like what you have to think what he did.
Yeah, it's theater of the mind.
Yeah.
You come in after the fact and you just see this chaos or whatever happened or like limbs everywhere and you just have to figure out in your own head.
And he's a big guy. And
Yeah.
he's a big, ugly. You see the back of his head.
Yeah.
He's gruesome. Like I said, he reminded me of Jason, the way he looked from the back.
He's clearly a
But I gotta say, did this movie grow on you two guys? You're talking pretty solid about it, but you were not enjoying it the way I did.
Well, listen, when I talk about it, I think that they did some stuff that was risky and it was kind of like out of the norm, so it felt good, like when the movie first started.
Yeah.
But as the movie wore on, there was a lot of holes in this movie. There was a lot of things that made me not enjoy it.
Holes in their bodies.
Well, yeah, that too. But
That
I
was
would
my
say
joke.
that, like going back to the slow burn, right? Like I love a good slow burn. I love like Halloween 78, where you're literally watching Michael stalk for 3/4 of the movie. I love that. But in this situation, because like Chris mentioned, you didn't get to know the victims, it got to be a little bit too almost like pointless. Like you're watching this guy trudge through the woods, and the kills were awesome, and we'll get to some of these kills, right? And the character was really cool, well thought out, but like you didn't give a shit about whoever got killed.
Well, and I liken that to Terrifier 1. You know, in many respects, Terrifier 1 is inferior to, I would say, 2, in the sense that it's low budget. It's got to do everything almost like they're pulling it up by the bootstraps just to make it work. And it works, but they got to wait for the bigger budget. And that's why, like I said, it's almost like a launch pad for this character. It's giving you the best of... This is almost like every Jason movie all in one.
Yeah. But still, like I've never seen a
I
horror
never
movie,
even saw
Terrifier.
every Jason, but you managed to make that connection. I'm like, I think this is just what people kind of wanted,
What's obvious.
without making another Jason movie.
Of course, yeah. I mean, he's a cool character.
It's like the best of they
I
kind of
see
put
more
in.
of him.
Yeah.
But I like the fact, like it's almost when I say it's like Jason, it's if you look at Friday the 13th Part 2, he's got the the potato sack or whatever over his head, and then he switches and he upgrades to the now infamous hockey mask.
Yeah.
And in this regard, it's almost like there's 2 versions of Johnny. You see him without his mask, and then
he finds that it's like the ant-looking old
It's the
school
old
forest
firefighter
fire mask.
Yeah.
But then he's got like the chain with the hook. His weapon is kind of it's kind of
He's
wild.
almost like a Jason on steroids. I know like Jason in the later installments got pretty crazy, but the kills, like you said,
they
were
pulled
insane
the
in this
girl's
one.
head like through the stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very creative kill, and that's why I like it. Almost like makes the jump again. So not that Friday the 13th ever came out in the 70s, but it's the slow burn Michael Myers type movie in the first 2 kills, I would say, and then it jumps to almost like 80s style type kills, even to the 90s and the 2000s, where it just goes over the top. I mean,
It's a good point.
You
I
know,
mean, it really does feel a little bit like an evolution.
Yeah, it's like you're pressing fast forward in all the Friday the 13th movies.
Yeah.
And then like it just condensing them all into one movie.
Yeah.
It did feel,
which is
most
fine.
like
If you go back and you watch a lot of the Friday the 13th, there's a lot of just downtime.
Yeah.
And like when they made the first couple, I'm like, did they have an intention on making a third, or was it just going to be a slow burn?
Well, that's
the whole
always
time?
been the case. As long as it's making money,
Yeah.
And this movie, I'm sure, I don't know what the budget of it was.
They're already making a second one, apparently.
It made like $5 million in the box
Yeah.
office, which for what it looks like it was shot on, that's probably a huge profit for them.
Yeah.
It gave you a character who, I don't hate him. It's not stupid. It's he's scary enough. I wouldn't want to come upon him in the woods.
Yeah. Well, what I liked, your favorite scene, I thought the lake scene where he walks in from the other end. You talk about slow burns, like slow,
awesome.
and she's swimming on the other end. I'm like, you've never seen that done before in like a horror movie, and you're just waiting for him to eventually get to the other
her
side.
Get taken under from a very far distance.
Yeah.
It's
There were some camera angles, and like the way it was shot was definitely unique.
The kills were 9 out of 10 in this movie.
Yeah.
Like it was very creative, and the way they did it, and the way they only showed a few of them, like you mentioned, you saw the aftermath of a couple of them. The kills in this movie, if you are like a kill horror type of dude, this is a great film.
Well, and I think it lends itself to the name of the movie, in a violent nature. He kills his victims in a very violent nature.
Did you just make that connection?
Well, no, but it's just a good name.
What?
It works.
Mind blown emoji.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of a stupid idiot when it comes to that stuff. But, anyways.
Johnny would spare you.
About,
Johnny would spare you because he feels so bad for the comment you just made.
Yeah.
Can we talk about like what the motivation for Johnny is in this movie? Because while it was kind of implied, I still am a little bit confused on what the actual motivation.
There is no motivation. It's like,
well, there's kind of is, right? Somebody steals his necklace.
Well, that's right. It was the locket.
Again, this goes back to like this is like a video game.
All he
up
wanted,
the magical force, and it has to.
All he wanted was his locket back. That's all.
But what is the significance? I don't remember. Did they go into the significance of the locket? Is it kind of like the Jason mom situation where that locket belonged to his parents? Like, how deeply rooted was the motivation? Like it. I'm still a little bit lost on that.
I think you're going to be lost. I think unless it's going to be something that's explored probably in the sequel, which will maybe ruin it. But that's okay, I guess, in a sense. But because that's what happens in every sequel. But yeah, it's just keeping them. It's keeping them down in the firehouse, and why, for whatever reason, I don't know why that keeps him down, and he can only be buried in that specific area, or at least you. Yeah. I think you just assume that because the kids, the last two survivors at the end, actually, I think. Assume that's the only place he can go.
Yeah, well, you had that character that came out that it was implied he knew the history and he knew what happened, and I think it was implied that he was the one who put him there first.
His dad.
In the first place, it was kind of like a Tommy Jarvis type character. Exactly, it was the only character that had any kind of background or like history with it.
Yeah,
we got to see
they
that.
told it around a campfire, like this mystery about Johnny, what happened. I was like, that's all you need. I was like, I don't need any more than that. He was a tortured kid. He was mentally unstable. He fell. I liked the fact that it was a logging company. I don't know. It was checked off. Like that's all you really need for that. I don't need a deep
but actually,
story with the characters.
To jump on that is that what does that make a problem for the sequel? You know, it almost opened up avenues and closed them just as quickly. For that, like, oh, there's a side character like almost like a Tommy Jarvis, where you think, oh, he'll be back in the sequel. Yeah, no, the guy doesn't even make it.
There was actually there was an opportunity to kind of build some lore and to create kind of like a history and have him have an adversary, but like it was like, nope, this dude immediately bit it.
Well, and that's why I think,
and in a terrible way, by the way.
That's why it works for me. It's like, it's taken every Friday the 13th, put it in a blender, and then just you're drinking it all.
Let's real quick. Let's slow this down and let's talk about how he killed this guy, because I think that was probably the most brutal. Like I know we talked about how the hook and he put the body through. That was very creative and brutal. But the way he killed this guy is like no other horror movie I've ever seen.
The log splitter death?
Yes.
Well, even leading up to that. He
paralyzes him. It's so eerie because they show the whole
and that's shot in a weird thing.
Of him walking
it was
back.
Just quiet. Yeah.
And then walking back and like he's just like blinking and there's panic setting in. Mm-hmm. That would probably be the worst way to die ever.
Oh, and you can't move, but you just see it all.
But the thing is, this log splitter was taking him off limb by limb. But I mean, the nice part is he can't feel it.
Well, we assume he can't feel it, but he can still experience all of this in his mind. Like, oh shit!
I was just trying to find a silver lining.
Well, and I like the fact that you don't hear anything other than the log splitter, really, and then but you see it struggle a little bit.
And he's kind of like playing with him. He cuts his hand off.
Yeah,
and he's like real like slow.
Yeah, it's
he doesn't make that. He doesn't make any noises.
I mean, I have to say, I can't think of another kill where a victim is kept alive for that long.
Yeah. I don't either. And it's, that feels a good, like, 12, 13 minutes of just this guy.
It felt like an hour. Like, that's how long that kill felt. Because there was, like you said, there was no music. It was all just kind of like shot from afar.
That
kind of in an
you know that
obscure
actually
angle.
you made a good point there. There's no score in this movie, is there?
Nope. You just
Is
hear
there
the-
zeros?
No, you literally just
No
hear
music.
when he's
Hear
walking.
leaves
When he's walking, you just hear like twigs breaking and birds.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
great.
I was kind of like, there's no. I didn't even think about that. There's absolutely no. Like Jason didn't have like a theme song, but he had that music.
And that's like actually a testament to the movie.
Yeah.
Because if you remove the music from
Any
Friday
horror
the
movie.
13th or even like Halloween,
Yeah.
it becomes much less intense.
Yeah. I wonder if they should have had something. Or
No.
I think it just
I
made
like
it
the
interesting.
idea because of where it is, the setting. It's like you said, we were in the Poconos last week. It's
Great time up there.
but it's quiet. It's peaceful. All those words you can use to describe. You're out on the water. It's quaint. Use any word you want.
Yeah.
But-
Serene.
serene, but within all of that, the way they shoot it, it's like still something extremely horrible can happen within all that serenity and all that calm and quiet nature. Something violence happening, and I like that. I think the music out of it actually is a little bit more eerie.
And those are the stories that make camping, especially when you're younger, more fun.
Yeah,
You're like, oh, I heard about this.
it's what you
story.
think you've heard.
Yeah.
what you
Well,
think you saw.
which actually, I think a great scene wasn't they were taking a group picture, and you can kind of see his face in the back.
Oh, yeah. And when they take the picture,
Yeah.
can't you kind of like see
And
him in
they
the
make
photo?
note of it later. We saw him.
Yeah.
We saw something, a face back there. I was kind of like, that was really good cinema.
Yeah.
That was there was just certain moments in that, but more than anything, I don't know if I would watch this movie like in the winter or even fall. This is a great one to watch.
It's a seasonable. It's
in the
seasonal
summer.
movie.
I think it's a one-time watcher. I don't think I could ever watch it again. I mean, maybe like
Is it because you don't want to or you don't have to?
I don't think
I
need
don't
to see
have
it
to.
again.
It's too like I think it was a more fun ride because I went into it blind and I didn't know anything about it. But it's just way too slow.
Well, the very end was when she was the last survivor. She finally makes it to a main road, and this woman from the area picks her up, and she's telling this long, drawn-out story about a bear.
Yeah, like even that's like
I was
feel
gonna like they
were
could have
trying to
just,
compare-
but like
they were trying to compare like
Well, they were
just being out there and running into a force like an animal that will just hunt you down and kill you. I feel like that's kind of the comparison that they were
that's what
making.
bears do. In fact, we saw bear. We were up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
We had our own
Yeah.
Johnny encounter.
Actually, great story of that. We saw that black bear rummaging through the trash. And,
Yeah.
so I tell my son the next day, my 5-year-old, and I said, we saw a black bear. He's like, really, Dad?
That's
What color was it? Was it brown? It's like, okay, this is not good. I'm failing as a
It's not
parent.
going well.
I grew up going to the Poconos. That's only the third time I've seen a bear.
It was pretty big
Yeah,
too.
you know how you pull into like Briarcrest Woods and it across. I saw a big one crossing the street, and like they're bigger than you think. And then another one was just walking around the neighborhood, and like they kind of just run around and look for blueberries, but by and large they just eat trash.
You see trash
They-
and blueberries.
They go down to the lake when it gets dark out and just
Would
rummage
you
through
rather
trash.
come across, and have to fight off Johnny or a black bear?
Probably
Oh.
black bear easily.
Oh, I think a better comparison. Let's
A grizzly.
a grizzly.
A grizzly?
I would definitely go with Johnny.
Johnny? Yeah, I think he could outrun Johnny,
Yeah.
and I
I mean,
know.
your death because even a grizzly bear's death is even going to be brutal because like they usually like tear
Well, they had
at
bear
you
traps all over in that movie. You know, in the beginning, the guy just around
That's
his land
true.
had
It
a
was
bunch
more
of bear
comparisons
traps.
to a bear. Like, and now that you say that, I
Yeah.
feel like they're
Maybe he was
trying
just supposed to be a
equate him
bear,
to a grizzly
just
bear.
to kill her.
Yeah, he's just a bear. In the
They're like,
woods.
it's like honestly, it's like Jaws of the Woods. They have no emotion.
Yeah.
They kind of just graze and just kill.
Yeah. Now to go back to like the second kill, that's when he kills the girl in the in the lake, right?
Yeah.
And then it's the
Wait, didn't he do
oh
the
no,
first one?
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, he kills the second
brutal
guy
one was before
with,
that.
with like the hacksaw or whatever. He pushes it through like his
His
skull.
face.
That was pretty creative too. I like that.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I liked how he carried his body.
Yeah.
And then I guess
He used it to break the glass at the fire at
Yeah.
the museum.
He uses his own
To get the-
healing weapon.
yeah.
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 No, I was creative.
Yeah, it was an upgrade. Like again, going back to the video game, he walked into like the shop,
Yep.
and then he upgraded his weapon, and then he put on his creepy mask.
So do you prefer Johnny without the mask or with the mask?
Without, I don't think the mask is necessary. However, the mask kind of grew at me because later in the night, like when the movie was off and I was going to sleep, I was thinking about like those huge bug eyes on the mask.
Bug eyes bothered
Yeah, it was like the huge bug eyes.
It looked like
just
you.
Just think if you like woke up and like that dude was just standing there with that fucking bug eye mask on.
Yeah.
Like just
I
staring
can't believe
at
that's what like mask used to look like for firefighters in the woods. That's what that was.
Yeah, it was an old firefighter mask, which kind of like, it was cool that it kind of played into the lore of his story because didn't he die because he got spooked by that same mask?
I believe so.
So
But
it was
this,
creative.
because it was a fireman mask, it did spawn us to watch Firestorm right afterwards. Remember that movie with Howie Long? We watched that up there too, but we're going to review that another time.
I'm glad I went home.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we did not watch
sounds like
that.
No, you drank a lot of beer and you're like, we gotta watch Firestorm. He's like, this movie is fucking awesome.
You love Howie Long.
It was me.
Yeah.
That's probably Howie Long's best movie. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here.
No, Broken Arrow is the best movie.
Yeah.
So wait, let's go back. Chris, you asked the question about the mask. I'm interested which Johnny you prefer.
I like them both. I like that he has it like as an option. I like that he takes it off in between the movies. So it's like,
Did he?
Did he take it off?
Yeah, because you remember when he's playing with a little toy car.
Oh,
shit,
yeah. That's when you see his face.
Yes,
still.
okay.
Yeah.
But that was criminal that they showed his face, I think.
Well,
They should have just kept that aura.
yeah, it was
not
too
fully seen his
close. And it
face.
was like he was derpy looking.
But I think to that point is it's he almost kind of now realized like he not only is he violent, but he seems like he's at like a kid's level.
yeah,
like you.
Because he died as a kid, right? Like he died as a kid, so he never matured past when he died.
So you like to play with the toy because I'm like, man, I've seen my kid do that recently. You know, it's like he's playing like a 5-year-old.
He stopped everything he was doing.
Yeah, just to play with the toy car.
Yeah. I think they really took a lot of inspiration from particularly Friday the 13th Part 3.
Yeah.
Like Richard Brooker, his interpretation of Jason, he had the same look, the same type of outfit. He had the same goofy face. That's the first time they showed Jason's face, like that, where it looked like that. And I just think that's the best overall comparison. And I know you guys were wanting to potentially compare the two and which you like best.
Well, I'm not a big Friday the 13th aficionado, but you made a point about the whole franchise was kind of crammed into one with this movie.
Well, as I've said,
most people wouldn't know that.
It just felt like that.
It's super obvious that this was a Friday the 13th ripoff.
Yeah, and that's okay. I'm totally okay with it. I think it's the guy Chris Nash, the director, did a really good job of, I think, visually and just directing it. You know, making it a good standalone movie. It's a carbon copy of Friday the 13th. I think it takes the best of. It's not a bad movie by any means.
No.
It's just I think that he's going to have his hands full with a sequel. Now people are expecting more and something even more original. He's already taken the best of. So, he'll struggle in the sequel. It'll struggle in the sequel whether it's a good movie or not. I think it'll try to introduce a lot more of the good guy and the viewpoints of these characters rather than just Johnny. So he's going to have to change it up, I think, unfortunately. But it's still a good movie.
Well, I guess this raises the ultimate question: Johnny or Jason? Now, you guys were getting really upset when I said Johnny, greater sign, Jason in a text message. And you couldn't believe I said something like that.
No.
It's just my opinion.
Greater, Johnny or Jason?
Hey, would you like me to start?
Yeah, go for it,
I
Sean.
think it's an easy. I think I
You're
know
a
the
big
answer.
Yeah. Well, first of all, when you talk about Jason, you have to. There's so many different versions of Jason. So I'm going to compare him to my favorite Jason, which is Richard Brooker's interpretation of Jason. He's like a really brooding dude. He's got the hunchback. He's got the deformed face. And he's kind of like playful and stupid. I believe that Johnny was ripped right from that interpretation, the one from Part 3 where he gets the hockey mask. I think overall Jason is a much better character in my opinion. Well, and it's easy to say that because Johnny's kind of a ripoff of Jason,
Right,
but
of course.
I just think that Jason has more to offer than Johnny. He's got kind of a better backstory, I think. He's got more. He has more. He's got a better look to him with the hockey mask, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And
I think to your yes, Jason obviously is better. It's greater than Johnny.
I don't know. We've got Connor to go.
But Jason hasn't done anything in years. There hasn't been a new Friday the 13th movie. He's already great.
When
and
was
Johnny's,
the last one? Was it 09?
2009? But Johnny is trending upward. Johnny has the ability to.
Is he really, though?
Yeah.
I don't know. Here's the thing. Like, he just checked the boxes for certain things I like.
Connor loves Johnny.
So just answer it straight up. You don't need. I don't even need your explanation. Is Johnny greater than Jason?
Johnny, greater sign, Jason.
And you mean that?
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly mean that.
We'd love to know what the viewers and the listeners.
Listen, I mean,
think.
Jason was a whole different time period. Okay, it was. My favorite Jason scene was when like the lady pulls up on the raft. I think it's part 3, right?
Yes.
And he like looks out the window.
He looks out the window all derpy.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of people like him to be mysterious, but like that was the funniest. I don't know.
Well, that's that face.
He's like trying to
right?
get. He's trying to get
That
out the
face
window.
looks exactly like.
And
John.
they had like the music of him trying to get out.
Yep.
I was kind of like, I like that. I like that version of
that's
Jason.
part 3.
I like that type right there.
Because he doesn't do that. He's more stealthy
Yeah.
in the other ones.
Yeah.
After that.
Like the
But
Kane,
I was
the
way
Kane
more. I
Hodder
was way
one,
more
I'm not a huge
interested
fan.
in a violent nature. Just the way it was shot. There were scenes. He had an air of mystery without keeping him completely in the dark. Like I like that it wasn't focused on the characters themselves talking the whole time.
Right.
So you
like,
enjoyed the aspect.
I
that
kind of
was
just
all
got
on
him
the kill
POV walking. I'm like, oh, this is interesting, and that was it. And I felt like you're walking through the woods with him because you didn't hear any music. It was just that.
You see, on the other side of that, I actually think that's the character's biggest flaw. Because while it was cool for the first, 30 minutes of the movie, that's what you expected. Okay, it's another POV. We're going to walk around for 15 minutes. Somebody's going to die a brutal death, and we're not going to care at all that they died. We just want to see how they died.
Right. Yep.
Whereas, okay, so Jason is B horror movie schlock, but at the same time, there's at least some of the movies try to develop some kind of likable character, or it's a character that is so brutally annoying that you want to see them.
Right. Well, and that, like I said, I think
dismembered.
that's why he did it. He tried to condense it all. Just let's focus. Let's get you. Hey, this is here's his resume. This is the killer.
Yeah.
You get to see what he does, and that's all.
And
that matters in this movie.
when I say Johnny greater than Jason, I'm talking about like the old school vintage Friday the 13th. The one that I could say it's most comparable to, they made Friday the 13th, what, 2009?
Yeah.
Like, that was the most similar type of movie I saw.
You think?
Yeah, tries to speed
this
it
one.
up. Tries to
Yeah.
give you the moment of him without the mask, and then gives him the mask right away. But
Well, do you like which look do you like better when they're masked up? Do you like the hockey mask, or do
I
you
actually prefer the hockey mask for that.
Yeah,
But
that's the most
with him, it's not even about that. It was done well. The shot of him in the behind in the fire, in the woods, the lake scene was great. It kind of just kept me. I was more interested in this than I've ever watched any of Jason movie. That's all.
So
But to that point, I don't think I could really rewatch it again. I'm not like the big gore guy.
It's
I don't
just so
care about
slow.
kills or what.
Yeah.
If that's your thing. That's
it's
fine.
one of those movies I'll
I
probably
like a story.
I'll
And
probably
there's no
rewatch as
payoff.
soon as the sequel comes out, just so I kind of,
Yeah.
if I have to,
Yeah.
remember it.
I'll probably be like next year.
But yeah, I mean, and that's not a bad thing.
But I would say I'd recommend this to anybody.
Definitely.
If you're looking for like a good campy summer type movie,
Yeah.
in the woods, you like nature, you like that kind of stuff.
So let's just get to the ratings. I mean, you already said it before. You don't have to repeat it again.
It's not spookless. I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't again, nothing scares me about these type of movies at all. Like unless it's like supernatural or something like that. But I was interested. I would just say not too spooky.
Not too spooky. What about you, Sean?
I was expecting a higher rating from
It
Colin.
was.
so
It's
was
not
I,
between
honestly.
spooky. That's all. But it's
Yeah.
not. It didn't like. I was into it.
Overall, I thought the kills were awesome. I thought the first half hour of the movie really played out in an awesome way. But ultimately, if you put the whole package together, especially with the end where it was so anticlimactic, and like Connor said, we were in this car for God knows how long. What was it? 25 minutes.
Yeah, they could have
there was
just
no
cut that
payoff.
whole scene out.
It ultimately, I was gonna go spookless on this, but because of the creativity of some of the kills, and because of the creativity of the POV from the killer, I'll do not too spooky.
I'll give it a little bit more of a positive review. I give it a spooky, but you know, again, like I said, it's a rehash of every Friday the 13th movie you've ever seen. But if you're looking for an alternative, it's a good alternative.
So what you're trying to say
It's a spooky.
is Johnny, greater side, Jason. All right.
Is he gonna get you there?
You're gonna have to ask me that question in a couple years.
Yeah.
Let me just put it this way.
It's not in a peaceful
This is
nature.
I think
I'll
this
say
is the
that
best
much.
that the series is gonna get.
Yeah.
There will be sequels. I don't think it's gonna get any better. I don't really
It's all
need to
downhill
know.
from here.
I don't need to know anything more. They kind of close even the loop where it's suggested at the end when she puts the locket on the gas tank. He's got it, so he's happy. He got what he wants, I guess. But I think any other attempts to explore that,
He
beyond
should
that-
just take that locket down with him.
But does he go back to sleep after that? You don't know.
No, he just hangs it like. In his
Yeah.
bed.
That's all he wanted. He puts it over next to his.
And just
rose-
waits for the next victim.
He-
Well, he
Next to
wants
his rosary
he wants
beads.
somebody to take it off. That's why. So
But I give it a spooky.
Yeah.
Worth the watch. Don't have to watch it more than once. And
no,
the sequels will be, I'm sure, shitty, but I'll be there for them as well. So
absolutely. So all
I
right.
think
Well,
definitively, Jason greater sign.
I would
Sean.
agree with Sean.
I
Jason's
know.
greater than-
I had to. Somebody has to be on the opposite end just
The
to
devil-
cause controversy.
The devil's advocate.
Somebody has to do that. So,
But great,
no.
great Pocono, great camping movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, like
Good
Chris
to be
said,
back. I guess we can call this season 3, episode 1.
Hey, it's officially spooky season, so
That's right.
we'll be back probably next week.
Yeah.
hell yeah.
Adios.
Take care.